2 managers, 1 season, and somehow, Tottenham Hotspur are closer to the Championship than they are to the top half of the Premier League.
We are starting with the misery at Tottenham Hotspur. The threat of relegation looms large after losing 3-1 at home to Crystal Palace. It's a 5th consecutive Premier League defeat.
This is not a meme. This is not rival banter. This is a genuine collapse.
No, not yet. I hope it's nothing too serious, but I don't know.
And it has a story behind it that goes much deeper than just bad results. Today we are telling that story.
No, it happened very rare things. I'm coaching 15 years, I never do like this thing. It was necessary to preserve the guy, preserve the team.
You're watching Time Grid. Today we're breaking down exactly how Tottenham's season fell apart under 2 different managers, and why the crisis keeps getting worse instead of better. If you love deep football analysis, hit subscribe. This is the kind of story we live for. How these 2 managers dragged Spurs into a relegation crisis right. Let's set this up properly because the size of this story deserves proper context.
What would happen if Spurs got relegated?
It is all over.
There's one thing you need in a relegation battle, and that is mentality.
To make sure that the very last resort would be us having to fall into the Championship. So before we even get...
Tottenham Hotspur are one of the most recognised football clubs on the planet. They have a stadium that genuinely takes your breath away when you see it for the first time. They have fans who travel across the world to support them. They have a history of producing some of the most exciting football England has ever seen. And right now in March 2026, they are 1 point above the Premier League relegation zone. 1 point. The last time Tottenham were actually relegated from the top flight of English football was 1977, nearly 50 years ago. A different era entirely. And for all the difficult seasons since then, all the near misses, the disappointments, the rebuilds, relegation was never something that felt genuinely possible for this club. Until now. Here's the problem though. This is not the story of one bad appointment. This is not the story of one tactical mistake or one injury crisis that derailed a season. This is the story of how 2 managers in very different ways both contributed to building a crisis that has now put Tottenham in real serious danger. Here's the catch. When you change a manager mid-season, the expectation is that things improve. Fresh ideas, new energy. Players who respond to different voices. That is the theory, and most of the time there is at least a short-term bounce. At Tottenham this season, that bounce never came. And that tells you that the problems here go deeper than any one manager. But the managers Thomas Frank and then Igor Tudor both played their part in how we got here. And that's where things got really ugly. Section 1. What went wrong under Thomas Frank? Let's start with Thomas Frank because his appointment actually made sense on paper. Frank had done something genuinely impressive at Brentford. He took a club with limited resources, built a clear identity, created a hard-working, organized team, and kept them in the Premier League when most people expected them to struggle. His reputation was built on exactly the kind of things Tottenham desperately needed: structure, organization, a clear style of play that every player understands and buys into. So when Spurs brought him in, the logic was there. Here is a manager who knows how to stabilize a club. Here is someone who can give this squad a system and make them competitive again. But here's what most people miss. What works at Brentford does not automatically translate to Tottenham. And that gap between the 2 clubs is bigger than it might seem from the outside. At Brentford, Frank had time. He built his squad over years. He knew every player deeply. He had a culture that he had created himself. When he arrived at Tottenham, he inherited a squad that had already been through multiple managers, multiple systems, and multiple disappointments. A squad where confidence was already fragile before he even walked through the door. Reports suggest the performances under Frank were inconsistent at best. Some matches showed brief signs of improvement, but the wins were not coming frequently enough. The defensive issues that had plagued Tottenham before his arrival were not being solved, and the results kept leaving them dangerously close to the wrong end of the table. What went wrong tactically? From the outside, Tottenham under Frank looked like a team that was caught between 2 identities. They were not pressing aggressively enough to be an organized, high-press team, but they were not sitting deep enough to be a disciplined defensive unit either. They were somewhere in the middle, which in football terms means you end up with the worst of both approaches rather than the best of either. Let me paint you the picture on the pitch. Tottenham's midfield would try to press forward to win the ball, but the timing was off. The press was not coordinated. One player would go and the others would not follow at the right moment. The opponent plays one simple pass through the press, and suddenly Tottenham are unbalanced numbers behind the ball are not right. The defense is exposed, and the counter-attack comes before the shape can be reorganized. That scenario, that moment of being caught in between, happened repeatedly. And every time it happened, the confidence of the players dropped a little further. And the scary part is by the time it became clear the system was not working, the table had already started to look dangerous. The window to fix things quietly, without panic, was closing fast. In February 2026, Thomas Frank was sacked. The results had not improved enough. The performances had not convinced enough. And the board decided that something had to change before it was too late. The problem was the change they made did not fix anything. Section 2, why Igor Tudor made everything worse. Igor Tudor came in as interim manager. And on the surface, the logic was the same as it always is when a new manager arrives mid-season. Fresh voice. Different ideas. Players who want to prove themselves to someone new. At the very least, a short run of results where things temporarily improve. That is the new manager bounce. And in football, it happens more often than not. Even in bad situations, even with struggling squads, even in relegation battles, a new face in the dugout usually produces at least 2 or 3 better performances in the short term. Tudor got nothing. According to reports, he lost his first 3 matches in charge. 3 games, 3 defeats, no bounce, no improvement, no sign that the arrival of a new voice had changed anything in how this team was performing. Wait till you hear this, that is genuinely rare. The new manager bounce is almost a guaranteed football phenomenon. The fact that it did not happen at Tottenham tells you something very serious about the state of this squad. It tells you that the problems are not in the tactics board. They are in the heads of the players. Now, to be fair to Tudor, he was placed in an almost impossible situation. He was handed a squad that was already low on confidence, already in a dangerous league position, already carrying the weight of a failed managerial appointment before his. He was asked to fix in weeks what had been broken over months. But from the outside, the early signs were not encouraging. Reports suggest the team did not look significantly more organized under Tudor than they had under Frank. The defensive mistakes continued. The midfield still looked passive in crucial moments. The pressure of the situation seemed to be affecting every player on the pitch. And here is the key question that the Tottenham situation forces you to ask. If 2 managers, both professionals, both with good ideas, come in and both fail to stabilize this team, is this really a manager problem? Or is this something bigger? The honest answer is it is both. The managers both played their part. But the deeper problems at Tottenham go beyond what any individual manager can fix in a few weeks. Section 3, the deeper football problems that both managers inherited and failed to fix. Let's talk about the actual football, because this is where the real story lives. Tottenham's problems this season have shown up in 3 specific areas, and both managers failed to solve them consistently enough. The first is defensive shape. Tottenham have been conceding goals from set pieces, from counter-attacks, and from basic positional errors that should not happen at this level. A corner comes in and the runner at the back post is completely unmarked. A free kick is whipped in and the wall jumps too early. A quick transition from the opponent and the defensive line is caught too high with space in behind. These are not complicated tactical failures. They are the basics. And when a team is conceding from the basics repeatedly, it means the organization on the training pitch is not translating onto the match pitch. The concentration is not there. The communication is breaking down under pressure. The second area is midfield control. In every match, there are moments where the midfield needs to win the second ball to pick up the loose possession after a clearance, after a blocked shot, after a set piece is dealt with. The team that wins those second balls controls the game. Tottenham have been consistently losing that battle. What does that look like in practice? The ball is cleared by the Tottenham centre-back. It drops in the middle of the pitch. The opponent gets there first. they play forward immediately. Tottenham's defense is already recovering its shape, and suddenly they are defending again before they have had a chance to breathe. That cycle, defending, clearing, losing the second ball, defending again, repeats over and over until eventually the goal comes. The third area, and this one is crucial in a relegation battle, is the striker taking limited chances. When a team is struggling for confidence, they do not create many clear chances. The build-up is hesitant. The final pass is safe rather than penetrating. And when a chance does arrive, often the first real one in 40 minutes, the striker needs to take it. Because in matches like this, that might be the only one. Reports suggest the finishing from Tottenham's forward line has been inconsistent all season. Chances have been missed at key moments. And when you are fighting at the bottom of the table, those missed chances do not just cost you points in one game. They cost you the belief that you can actually score when it matters, which affects every game that follows. Right quick reset. Here is where we are in this story. Thomas Frank came in with a plan that never really clicked. The tactical identity was unclear. The results did not improve fast enough. And by the time he was sacked, the damage had already been done. Then Tudor arrived, and instead of the expected bounce, the losses continued. 3 defeats from 3 games. The squad's still broken. The confidence still shattered. And underneath all of that defensive disorganization, midfield passivity, poor finishing, the structural problems that neither manager fixed are still there every single week. Now, here is the final piece. The part that turns all of this into something genuinely historic. Section 4, why this is now a genuine relegation crisis. Let's be completely clear about where Tottenham are, because some people are still treating this as a joke, as content, as rival banter. It is not. Tottenham are 16th in the Premier League with 29 points from 29 games. 1 point above the bottom 3. 11 games without a win. That is not a bad patch. That is a run that, if it continues, ends in relegation. The mathematics are simple and they are brutal. But here is the thing about football table pressure that casual fans sometimes underestimate. It is not just about where you are in the table right now. It is about the momentum you carry into the remaining games. And momentum, or the complete lack of it, affects everything. A team with good momentum going into the final 9 games of a season plays differently. They are confident on the ball. They take risks at the right moments. They defend with organization because they believe in each other. They score goals because the striker pulls the trigger when he has half a chance. A team without momentum, a team carrying 11 games of hurt and doubt and embarrassment, plays completely differently. Every mistake feels massive. Every chance missed feels like a disaster. Every goal conceded feels like proof that things will not get better. And that psychological state shows in every single action on the pitch. And here is what most people miss when they talk about big clubs in relegation battles. Reputation means nothing to the league table. Tottenham's history does not earn them points. Their stadium does not earn them points. The fact that they have been in the Premier League for nearly 50 years without being relegated does not earn them points. What earns points is winning football matches. And right now, Tottenham are not winning football matches. What if Tudor can organize them quickly and the squad responds before it is too late? What if one result, one scrappy, unglamorous, hard-fought win breaks the 11-game streak and unlocks something in the dressing room? In football, momentum can shift. 1 win becomes 2. 2 becomes 4. A team that looked doomed suddenly looks organized. It happens. But what if the losses continue? What if Liverpool away is another heavy defeat and the psychological damage goes even deeper? Then the remaining games become almost unbearable to play in. The pressure becomes suffocating. And the teams below Forest, West Ham, Wolves, Burnley, all of them desperately trying to survive gain confidence, while Tottenham lose more of theirs. That is the razor's edge Tottenham are walking right now. The key battles in the run-in that will decide everything, 3 battles are going to decide whether Tottenham survive. The goalkeeper battle. The keeper needs to be their best player in the remaining games. Shot stopping, commanding his box, organizing the defense in front of him, being the wall that keeps them in games when everything else is going wrong. In a relegation battle, a goalkeeper who saves 2 or 3 goals across 9 games might be worth 10 points. Absolutely critical. The midfield battle. Winning the second ball. Controlling the tempo in tight games. Not allowing the opponent to play through the middle at pace. The midfield cannot be passive. They have to be aggressive in the right moments, disciplined in the right moments, and smart enough to know the difference. Against teams at the bottom, whoever dominates midfield dominates the result. The striker battle. Tottenham's forward player needs to be clinical. In 9 games at the bottom of the table against organised defensive sides who are also fighting for survival, clear chances will be limited. When the ball drops in the right place at the right moment, it has to go in. Because in these games, you might wait 60 minutes for that moment, and it cannot be wasted. All right, let's bring this home. Take away one Thomas Frank's appointment was logical, but it did not work. The tactical identity was never clear enough. The results did not come, and by the time he was sacked, the table was already looking dangerous. The damage under his tenure was real. Take away Tudor's arrival produced none of the expected bounce. 3 defeats from 3 games told the whole story. The problems at Tottenham are not just about tactics or management. They are about confidence, structure, and a squad that has lost its belief at the worst possible time. Take away 3, this is a genuine relegation crisis, not just a difficult patch. 1 point above the bottom 3. 11 games without a win. 9 games remaining. The table does not care about reputation. And for the first time in nearly 50 years, Tottenham Hotspur could actually go down. Can they survive? Yes, it is still possible. The teams around them are also struggling. 9 games means 27 points are still available. 1 win can change everything mentally, but the clock is ticking. The games are running out. And right now, based on everything we have seen from both managers this season, there is no clear sign that the problems have been fixed. So here is my question for you. Do you think Tudor can save Spurs, or has the damage from this entire season already gone too far? Drop your honest answer in the comments. I read every single one, and if this breakdown gave you something to think about, a like genuinely helps this channel grow. 1 second means everything. 2 managers, 1 season, a 50-year record at risk. This is the story of how Tottenham Hotspur got here, and the ending hasn't been written yet. This is Time Grid. See you in the next one.